Hello, everyone. Blessings this Christmas to you all. I wasn't able yesterday to do a little message about the new moon in Capricorn, and I thought that I would still do that and just say in brief, really, with this, that this new moon, as always with new moons, is about planting seeds for the future that will come to fruition around 6 months, but I like to just think it'll bloom whenever. This new moon is very good for making plans, yes, and thinking about where you want to go, how you're going to climb the mountain of your aspirations, and how you're going to do that, in what way. It can also be a time of reflection about where you've been and what you've done and what you haven't done, and so on. And it can bring up doubts and a feeling of overwhelm, perhaps, too. But I encourage you just to use this time to think about what you'd like to achieve next year. It's a good time to make some plans for that. And of course, it's coming to the end of the year, and it's a time to look at those sorts of things anyway. But I really wanted to just talk to you about this Christmas in general, about the inner manger, and that this Christmas to stay close to that inner manger within. Now, Christmas can be a time where we feel our cellular memories, we feel our traumas, our family issues, and they tend to become writ large within us and reverberate and echo through our soul quite profoundly. So Christmas can be a time where we're feeling a bit sad, or disappointed, or despairing, or lost, or alone, feeling isolated. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, while wishing everyone to have a beautiful Christmas, just acknowledging that there are a lot of us out there that may be feeling a little bit dislocated and alone or sad, and perhaps thinking how to deal with that and what to do with that. And it can be a time of reflection as well, where everything comes into your mind, into your soul of, oh, what have I achieved? What haven't I achieved? And that also dovetails in with the new moon of planting seeds and thinking about what I have done or haven't done and what I need to do. But I wanted to quote a really profound poem by T.S. Eliot, and, well, part of it anyway. I'm just taking a part of this. It says, "Do not let me hear the wisdom of old men," I could put in brackets old women as well, "but rather their folly. The only wisdom we can hope to acquire is the wisdom of humility. Humility is endless." I love this poem. Do not let me hear the wisdom of old men, but rather of their folly. So just thinking about how much we learned and know about true love through embracing what we perceive to be where we've failed, or what's gone wrong, or what we haven't achieved, or what we don't have, etc. The word humility, the root of this word comes from the idea of groundedness of the earth. And so perhaps it's encouraging us to embrace our humanity. And I know that a lot of you know my little catchphrase is learn to love your humanity and be embraced by the beloved within. And if we're looking at the inner manger and thinking about the birth in the story of divinity in human form, then there may be some message there about embracing what we feel is not good enough. Of course, this is all perception, and how we feel and what our experiences, our trauma has taught us, or scripted us with, conditioned us with. But the idea may be to embrace that humanity in all that it means, which means we may not be achieving or doing as much as we like. And I know in the new spiritual way of the world, we're taught about reaching our potential and being able to manifest what we want and all of these things, which is all, it's a good message. But there's also another side to that message, which is being able to embrace and really understand what it means to be human. And the real message is perhaps that it's easy to love ourselves when we're getting it all right and it's all going well. But perhaps the deeper message is to love ourselves, embrace ourselves when that's not happening, and that this is a very deep door into the arms of the beloved, or it is a conduit for true nectar, the path of suffering. So just musing today on this Christmas, that perhaps our perceived failures and what we might not have and what we may have lost and what we might be grieving may be the very doorway into our divinity, the immutable self, into the everlasting embrace within, and coming to an inner manger with the expectation perhaps that we will love our humanity rather than try and stamp it out or modify it into an aspiration that is not embracing of our failures and our humanity. If we could embrace both the humanity and the divinity at the same time, which surely is the message of the baby in the manger. So stay in the stable. Understand that's the only place that our divinity has ever been born, is in a stable. And perhaps in our folly, in the folly, or what it feels folly of our humanity, we can obtain the only wisdom that there is to acquire, which is the wisdom of humility. And that humility brings us into unconditional love for ourselves, which is truly what love is. It's so easy to love ourselves when everything's going right. But the true test, as I'm sure you all know, it's not easy, not an easy test, is when we love ourselves when we perceive that we are not doing a good job, or we're failing, or we're grieving, or we've lost, or it feels hopeless, or we're despairing. Because Christmas can bring all of these things up for us, where we feel alone, even though it's a time when we're meant to be all coming together. But it can really trigger those feelings in us. Reach down into the manger and hold that baby. And as you think about the coming year, be gentle and kind about the way in which you move forward. Allow space for grieving. And inside that aloneness or despair, come into embrace and feel the presence of the beloved most potently in those hours. So anyway, that's what was on my mind today. And I wanted to share that with you and combine that with the new moon in some way. Perhaps, I was going to say, don't be so hard on yourself, right? Of course. But perhaps in our expectations of ourselves, we could come to a greater love and the expectation that we will embrace what we feel we cannot. And be humble enough to have a life that is humble and full of humility, full of the earth, full of the stable. And in that space, be born in our divinity. Have a beautiful Christmas. And know that you are loved and you're not alone, even though you may feel